Welcome to Mondays with Nicolette. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2 of this 4-part series on finding your focus, where I'm going to share some research-based information as well as provide practical and actionable steps that you can take to accomplish your goals by increasing your ability to focus, enhancing your overall well-being, and reducing your stress levels. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do so. And please remember to turn on your notifications so that you'll be sure to receive the next session. So let's get into today's topic. So in part 1, I started with what is focus, but for this session, I want to start with why focus. Why should we concern ourselves with improving our ability to focus? Well, the answer is very simple, yet very sobering. It's because we all only have 24 hours every day in which to not only accomplish what we have to do, but to do the things that we want to do. So in order to be able to do more of the things that we want to do, it would be in our best interest to develop and strengthen the skill that will enable us to do what we have to do more effectively, more efficiently, and that is the skill of focus. So that's why we want to dedicate some time and some effort to developing our ability to focus. So I want to review the 2 definitions that we have for focus. What is focus? It is the ability to start a task without procrastination, to direct our attention as well as our effort towards that task for a specified amount of time or until it is complete. I also talked about how focus goes together with mindfulness, in that mindfulness asks us to pay attention to the here and now, to the things that are happening in every moment. So you can see where there is a direct connection between our ability to focus as well as our ability to be mindful. So in strengthening our mindfulness practice, we automatically strengthen our ability to focus. So today, I just want to take a few minutes to review some of the things that block our ability to focus and to offer a few quick tips on how we can eliminate some of those blockers. So I want to start with distractions. It's the number 1 focus blocker. At every given moment, there are always a number of things that are vying for our attention. In part 1, I talked about the fact that there's 2 elements at play in terms of attention. There are external factors as well as internal factors. Those external factors are everything that's around us, what we think about, what we see, what we hear, what other people are doing, as well as what's going on inside of us at any given time, what we're thinking about, how we're feeling. Those are all distractions that limit our ability to focus. Then we have our motivation. Sometimes we're just not motivated to focus on whatever it is that is in front of us at any given time. And I want to talk about some of the ways that we can increase that motivation so that we can focus. Then we have pesky problems. So pesky problems are things that fall into the category of distractions as well, because they take our mind off of what we're doing, because they're things that sort of niggle at us. And when we should be doing something else, we're really thinking about those other things. And that's why I term them pesky, because they're sort of like something just like nipping at your ankle when you should be focused on doing something else that is just in the background bothering you. Then we have stress. So stress is a big focus blocker. When we feel overwhelmed, when we feel anxiety, we cannot really concentrate on whatever it is that we need to do. So we should pay some attention to that. Then we have the myth of multitasking. This is a huge focus blocker. I talked about it last time. I'll talk about it again right now. Multitasking is a myth. We cannot focus on doing more than one thing at a time efficiently and effectively. We can give off the appearance of doing multiple things at a time. We do not do each thing at the same time. We do turn our attention for a small period of time to each of the tasks. We bounce back and forth between the tasks, but we are not accomplishing the task as well as we could if we were to focus our attention on each task at any given point. Then we have our environment, which can also be a big focus blocker. And I want to talk a little bit about how we can get over that. Where we are can also limit our ability to focus. So these are some of the things that block our ability to focus. And today I just want to talk about a few ways that we can deal with each of those before I get into the big 3 blockers in the next session, because I want to take a little more time with those. I'm dedicating an entire session just to those. So right now, putting all of these together, let's talk about a few of the ways that we can counteract some of those focus blockers. So one of the ways we can do so is to work with ourselves. We have to learn how to work with ourselves. It's not by nature. For some reason, we seem to always want to work against ourselves. So what do I mean with work with ourselves? In order to work with ourselves, you have to know yourself. You have to know when you are able to focus better than when you are not. We all have our internal clocks. We all have our own rhythms of when our energy is high, when our energy is lowest. You have to study yourself for at least a little while in order to tune into when those times are for you. So one of the ways that you can work with yourself to focus is to discover when is your peak energy time. Is it in the morning? Is it in the mid-afternoon? Is it at night? That's when you should attack or address your bigger things that you really need to dedicate some time and effort to. And then the smaller things that you really don't need to focus as much for, you can do those things during your non-peak times. So that's one way that you can work with yourself. Another way that you can work with yourself is by removing temptations. Those temptations are the distractions that we can control. There's always going to be things that distract us that are out of our control, but there are things that we can control that distract us. So my good friend, Oscar Wilde, he has a quote that says, the best way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. For our purposes, that is not the best way to deal with temptation. The best way to deal with temptation is to remove it. If you know that there are things that are going to tempt you to pay more attention to them around you when you are trying to focus on something, then you need to get those things out of the way so that you are not tempted. For example, one of the biggest temptations is our devices, okay? When we have them nearby, we are tempted to look at them. So when we are addressing a task with which we need to dedicate our focus, we need to remove the device and just put it someplace a little out of reach, turn it off for a while. If we know that looking at the TV or listening to the radio or doing anything superfluous is going to take our attention away from the task, we need to make sure that we take our attention away from that item. So removing temptations is one of the ways that we can work with ourselves to focus a little bit better. We need to choose the tasks wisely that we are going to address. And that goes back to the first point that I was making about working with ourselves. We need to think about, what are the things that I need to focus on? And of these issues, which one can I really give my attention to right now in this time and space during the time that I have in front of me to work with this? The other thing we need to do is to address those other issues, those pesky problems that I mentioned before. We need to address those things. If there's something that you continually think about that is taking your attention away from the things that you need to get done, that's a sign that you need to talk about that problem. You need to address whatever that issue is with whomever you need to address it with. If it's something that's inside that you need to work on for yourself, then you need to do that, because it's going to be a constant source of bother for you. So the fact that you cannot focus on whatever it is that you're doing because that issue keeps recurring is a sign that you need to focus on that issue first, before you can turn your attention elsewhere. Another way that we can fix our focus is by taking what I call power up pauses. So power up pauses are very simple. It simply means to stop. We can stop whatever it is that we are focusing on, to take a minute to just breathe at the very least, to do something else, to shift our attention somewhere else so that we are able to gather some more energy to go back in to focus on whatever it is that we wanted to do. A perfect power pause is to take a 5-minute meditation break before returning to the task that we need to focus on. Another focus fixer, which is huge, is to unitask. That is the opposite of multitask. To choose one thing and to focus on doing that one thing for whatever determined time that you are going to dedicate. It can be a short time. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 10 minutes, it can be 15 minutes. However, it's a predetermined time that you are taking to dedicate all of your attention, all of your resources, all of your effort towards starting and working on that one thing that you have selected. So unitasking and making the conscious choice to do one thing for a specified amount of time. So this idea has been out for many, many years. It's called the Pomodoro plan. And what you do with the Pomodoro very quickly is that you determine a specified amount of time that you are going to focus on a task. You can say 25 minutes. That's a typical amount of time that you are going to focus on doing something. And then for 5 minutes, you'll take a break. And then for 25 minutes, you go back to working on the task. For example, I do that with many things that I work on. However, now I do it in 40 to 90 minute chunks of time. As you grow in your ability to focus, you can lengthen the amount of time that you take with the non-break time, the working time, and you can build up. So now I choose anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes as my focus time, and then build in a 10-minute break, and then I go back to the 60 to 90 minute focus time. And you can start really small with 10 to 15 minutes with a 5-minute break or a 2-minute break, and then go back to 10 to 15 minutes. But the focus is truly on doing one task during that Pomodoro time. And then to deal with environment that is not helping you to focus, we need to be able to change our location. I know for some time now we've all been home, and that in and of itself is a big focus blocker, because you have all of the distractions that are around you all the time, and so that can be a problem. But sometimes even within whatever confines that we are working, making a small shift, a small location change. If you're sitting at the table, just changing to a smaller area, going to the desk. If you're sitting at the desk, going to the workstation. If you're at the workstation, just changing to a smaller pull-out table and relocating. Just any small relocation or change of space sometimes can help us to focus much better. So, as I said, just a really quick overview of some of the things that block our ability to focus and some of the ways that we can help ourselves. We need to learn how to help ourselves fix our focus. So in the next session, as I said, I'll be talking about the 3 ways that we can truly help ourselves to fix our focus by focusing on these 3 things. I hope that you will join me for that next time. This week, though, the practice that I want you to implement until next time is called mindful walking. So mindful walking is as simple as its name indicates. It is the practice of walking, something that we do every day, in a mindful way. So the quick description and explanation for mindful walking is simply bringing our attention to our feet, touching the floor or the ground as we walk. And it can be a really short walk. It can be an intentional long walk that you go out to take, or it can be just the walking that you do around your home or from your car to the grocery store or any place that you find yourself walking. So there is a guided practice that will help you with that will be attached to this session in the playlist, but you can just do simply that mindful walking. Anytime you get up to walk, just bring your attention to the actual process of walking by feeling your feet on the ground or on the floor as you do so. So I want you to try to implement that as many times as you can for this week, as well as continue to build on the practice from the last time, which was just bringing your full attention to whatever short task that you determined that you will bring your attention to. So that's it for this session. Please be sure to join me next time. If you haven't already, please leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel. Drop me a line at intentionaleducators@gmail.com. Let me know what you would like me to do these sessions on. You can also visit my website at educatezen.org, and you can sign up there to receive my biweekly newsletter, which is a curated newsletter of articles that can help you to stay informed and to be well. So until next time, take care and see you next week.